Hey folks, this is Noah Lloyd with Pelgrane Video. Today we're talking about my favorite GMing tip, which is a quick and dirty way of using an outline for your game preparation beforehand. Now this is actually taken from Mike Shea, who had a post called 5-Minute Game Preparation from years ago that I read and kind of immediately adapted into my GM flow, we might call it. So in his post, Mike actually gives us a 5-minute preparation which can fit on a 3x5 card. My method is a little bit more intricate than that, but it still fits on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and if it's any longer than that, I force myself to cut and pare down. So what does it look like? This is an outline from a campaign session that I ran a couple of years ago. It's got 5 sections. Section 1 is previously. And I'm trying to think of this kind of like a treatment of an episode of television, right? So previously on, insert your campaign name here. So this section is just telling me what happened the last time we played. I might read this to my players right when we're about to start, or I might ask someone else to do a recap for us. That's something I tend to like doing. But in any case, this is just setting the stage for me. Section 2 is just called Scene. And the scene is telling me where are we starting, right? Are we starting minutes after the previously section, or are we fast forwarding a couple of days? Next is the most important section. Section 3, which is called 3 Avenues. And that's just 3 different directions that I think the PCs might decide to go in, right? So on here, one of the directions they might go is a library in the city they just arrived in. I'm placing some interesting books in it, some information that I know they might need, and then moving on to the 2nd Avenue. Here, the 2nd Avenue is a small oasis town, which is a few miles away, and I'm seeding some more clues in there. Another avenue might be combat encounter. Maybe they're going to go after a bandit lord, and I know I need to prepare a small combat encounter. I'll write that up here in the 3 Avenues section. Or I know they might be attacked by a group of assassins. Whatever. The last 2 sections are both about characters. So the second to last section is just called NPCs or GMCs, depending on the system you're playing. And I put down their name and a quick description. If they're a brand new NPC, I'll put down kind of a physical description so I can give that to my players. But if they're an NPC the characters have encountered before, I'm just writing down their motivation, right? What does this character want? And that's enough, and I can work around that otherwise. And lastly is the PCs section. So last but not least, right? And this section is just carrying through bits of story from prior episodes that I find interesting, that I think the characters are going to continue. On this sheet, which I just pulled at random, one of the characters gets news about her mother when they arrive in this city, right? A messenger arrives bringing important news about her mother, and I've just written that down here. Maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't, right? But that's the benefit of this kind of outline. I don't expect them to go to all 3 places in the 3 Avenues. In fact, in a 4-hour game, I expect them to get to 1. But this is giving me the framework that I need for a solid sandbox campaign. I also write something like this up for pre-written modules for Trail of Cthulhu, right? It just lets me cohere everything onto a single piece of paper, and I can see at a glance where we might be going, what the issues might be, what the characters might be interested in. And more often than not, they're going to do something on here because I've seeded these things before. But when they do go off the rails, I have other elements that I can pick off this sheet and just throw at them because they've been prepared. So that's my top GMing tip, which again comes from Mike Shea in his 5-minute game prep post. Mine is probably more of a half-hour to 45-minute game prep, but it's still better than the 4 or 5 hours that I hear some people talking about. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, I'm Noah Lloyd for Pelgrane Video, signing off.